Because I've studied color theory, it's changed the way that I shop for makeup. Today, I'll take you through my thought process. Makeup shopping is so fun, and it's all about color science. I didn't really shop for makeup in so long, and my makeup bag was kind of uninspiring. I was just using whatever. But today, I'm buying a new piece of makeup. I'm gonna get a new bronzer, but not so fast. I have to figure out what I'm looking for exactly. I'm so interested in makeup right now. I used to shop for makeup based on, I guess, what I thought I needed to buy. For example, buying bronzer was always about looking sun-kissed. But that doesn't work for everybody. Being somebody who wears makeup is like being an engineer because you're balancing your own biological process of producing oil, managing the tools that you use to apply it and how you do that. And when it comes to your unique skin tone, you're calculating how you can add to it and still make it come back to what it is naturally. That's actually really interesting. So, today I'm going makeup shopping and I'm gonna get a new bronzer that I wanna get. I'm excited. If you like this video, please add it to a playlist or give it a thumbs up. Let's get some bronzer. Even though bronzer's like always thought of as this thing that's gonna make you like really sun-kissed, I love that, of course, because who doesn't love that? But when I actually look at what I'm looking for bronzer to do, it's more about creating atmosphere in my face. And the atmosphere of the environment that I choose will contribute to the makeup look. And that environment doesn't always mean sun. It's about environment and dimension. So I'm gonna do my makeup and then I wanna review the ones that I already have because I have a lot of bronzers actually in this room. But do you know why powder makeup isn't safe to use? Because I always wonder that, like why it's not safe to use an old bronzer. When I was living abroad for a little while, I went through like a thing and I bought like 9 bronzers within a year. Those ones are like sentimental to me, even though they're like 10 years old. It's time to get a new one, and like I said, I shop much differently now, so I'm gonna take you with me. I hope you like this style of video. Rather than looking out into the world and seeing what exists, let's see what I have because we can study it and learn quite a bit. So this one's interesting because unlike a really orange bronzer, this bronzer has a lot of pink in it. Since it's brown, and the pink isn't red, it's almost purple. So this bronzer on an olive skin tone, somebody with a lot of green in their skin, is going to get a healthy effect from a bronzer like this, and it will bronze them in the way that you might think an orangey bronzer would. This bronzer is really orange, it's like terracotta, and this one I got a long time ago. I like the size of it. It's so large, and I don't know why that makes it feel fun to use. Now I love this because it's one of the first bronzers I've got that is so incredibly close to my skin tone, but it adds a really easy to use bronze effect. It's very pink and it's so easy to use because it's so close to my skin tone. I like that. The one thing I really don't want with bronzer, from experience, I know I don't want to have to blend it and blend it and blend it for it to blend. I don't like kicking up texture on my skin by blending, so the things I need to use need to be easy to use. With these ones, they're really deep and dark and intense, and actually this so represents that excitement I used to have about bronzer. Like when I look at the actual product itself, I see sun, I see like fun, I see like a whole concept that really has nothing to do with does it look good on me? It's more that I get excited about the actual object, which is super cool. But definitely the one I get today, I want it to be like what I want holistically. So depending on what underlying tones are present in your skin, I've got green. So if I go and add an orange tone, I actually land myself more neutral blue, which adds dimension. Now when it comes to bronzer, that's exactly what I'm going for. So adding a bronzer that is orangey is one approach. It's not like there's one way to do it, because with the atmosphere you want to create, you're making art and you're saying something. So it's like, what do you want to say? Because orange tone bronzer is super opposite to the colors that are naturally present in my skin. Let's say I was doing no makeup at all, like literally bronzer to save my life, one product, that's it. I would use an orange tone bronzer. Because it's so far away from the colors in my skin, It would really create dimension that would take away from the discoloration and add a more beautifying appearance. That said, on a face full of makeup, then adding orange bronzer on my skin is going to look like orange bronzer. And that's only because the greenish tint in my skin, that olive nature, even with some of the best color matches, the coverage of the foundation usually evens out that green, and it's no longer going to be able to play with that orange bronzer because the green is covered over. The tools that you use for whatever product you're using are important because they have a different way of interacting with the compact itself and your skin. With synthetic fibers, this kind of brush won't ever pull in any product into the hairs. It's not porous. If your main concern is conserving product, then synthetic hair is the one that's never going to eat up your product. But for people who struggle with their makeup blending technique, a synthetic brush, since it doesn't eat up any of that product, it can make blending very difficult. So try a natural fiber brush if you find blending to be a real tough thing. The other type of brush is natural hair fibers. These are soft on the skin and they won't exfoliate your skin so easily. They also are porous, so they can suck up the product a little bit. And that's actually why they blend so well. A lot of celebrity makeup artists use these. Just by dusting off the stuff that I had, I fell in love with these two bronzers again that I kind of forgot about. I love the type of bronzer that they are, but there's one type that I don't have. Think about this for a minute. With a matte makeup product, it never bounces light off of it ever. It's matte, and that means it absorbs the light completely. So then think about how we always want matte makeup products because we think about like our oily skin and that's why, right? But think about if you're in the sunlight, you've got this matte line on your cheek of bronzer. It's obvious that you've got a matte bronzer on your cheek. So ideally, a bronzer that has the flexibility to move with your skin and disappear depending on the angle of the light, that's actually going to look more beautiful in more environments more often. Take a look at the cheek here. It's bronze, and then if I tilt my head, get the light right on the place where the bronzer is, it disappears because it's satin enough to do so. That's a wear everywhere type of bronzer. But a matte bronzer, of course, looks amazing in certain environments. Okay, let's go to Sephora or like the makeup stores. I like to go into all different kinds of stores and see what's available because when I'm in person shopping, that's like really fun. I did notice when I was shopping that a lot of bronzing products are really expensive, like really, really pricey. The high-end items, they definitely drew me in, and I looked at a lot of different colors. Another part for me personally that is important is that I actually like the component or the actual container that the bronzer's in. I have to like the way that it looks because it does play into the ritual of doing my makeup, which I cherish so deeply. I really love this Chanel bronzer. They never had it in my shade, but it's like a cream product and it's satiny and it looks so good, but they didn't have it, and so I kept looking until I stopped at MAC and I found something interesting. You see, products don't always have to be labeled as one thing to be used that way. So we've got the bronzer. I picked one out and we have something exciting, but I'm not going to show it to you yet. I want you to see what it looks like on the skin. I have it on as a bronzer on my forehead, on my cheeks, and some blush added to the mid-face as well. You can see that the effect is natural and it looks like a color that's naturally occurring on my skin tone. But I know if you actually see the product, then you're going to be surprised. I did my foundation and here you can just see blank canvas skin. My makeup is set and I'll add the bronzer or the product to my cheeks as well as my forehead, and it's got such a low volume of opacity. Like it's so sheer that you can add more and more and build it up, but your first pass on the skin isn't going to bring an intensity that you need to like buff out. Okay, so let me show you the one that I got. I'm really excited because this is so different than the ones that I was really just falling in love with when I was swatching them at home. This one was about $30 and it's from MAC. It's called Harmony. When I swatched it, I knew it was perfect. It may look like a really light shade, but it has the same level of brown, the same depth as this orangey bronzer, minus the orange pigment. That's exactly why I got it. I actually love this so much because it is incredibly different than your average sun-kissed bronzer. The fact that it's technically a blush, that is really going to make it easy to use. It's not highly pigmented and you don't need to work hard to blend it out. Let's take a look at what it looks like on my arm next to an orange bronzer, next to my blush, and see how it differs from your average bronzer. So if somebody had really pink skin, this wouldn't look brown on them. But on me, when I swatched with just one pass, you can see it's a really subtle, naturally occurring brown color. Now I love the orangey bronzer, but let me just put it side by side and show you why I went for the one that I did. If I have these two side by side, you can see how colorful and how almost like optimistic looking that orange one is. And that isn't actually the color I want to bring into my face, especially in daylight. Now I'll put my blush beside it and you can see these tones are so different from each other. Now the reason I picked this blush, and I'll use it as a bronzer, is because regardless of what it's called, the color itself translates on my skin tone to be exactly in the range of the natural shadows, natural bronze, natural tones of the brown in my hair and skin. And that's not based on an idea, that's just based on color science. Both of these bronzers have their place in my life. And the orangey one is actually good for adding brightness and optimism in an evening or like candlelit environment where the sunlight isn't exposing all of the tones, but the orange is actually kind of brightening up my complexion. And the new one is really good for sunlit environments and daytime wear, anytime where it really just needs to look kind of real. This kind of process was so different from how I used to shop, and now I have a new bronzer, which I'm so excited about. If you enjoyed watching this and you'd like to see more in this makeup engineering series, please give this video a thumbs up and comment down below your favorite makeup item so that I can know more about what you're interested in. I love all things to do with color, technique, application, skin biology, as well as how it relates to the makeup itself and ingredients. There are so many components to this, and it's really fun when you feel more connected to how you're able to bring your looks together. Always remember, it's not about the new things you get, it's about how you play with them and enjoy them. And I hope that this encourages you to play with some makeup and maybe get a new bronzer if it's time. Only if it's time though. Okay? I'll see you really soon. Click my channel for more. I love you.